Meanwhile, President Obama defending the Iran nuclear deal in Ethiopia yesterday, specifically citing Governor Huckabee's criticism of his administration.
Now, the particular comments of Mr. Huckabee are, I think, part of just a general pattern that we've seen that would be considered ridiculous if it weren't so sad.
And joining us right now is Governor Huckabee. Governor, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Maria.
Your reaction to the president's reaction to you?
Well, you know what's ridiculous and sad is that the president went to the Iranians and thought he could make a deal with a bunch of people who for 36 years have been threatening to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and for all this time has chanted death to America even as they're sitting at the negotiating table. That's what's ridiculous. This is a dangerous deal. I read the whole thing, and the more I read, I thought, I'm surely going to get to the good parts, the parts that give me some comfort. It only got worse. We basically have just turned a $120 billion checkbook over to a bunch of terrorists. And I don't know why in the world the president would be so proud to put his name on this deal.
The president said 99% of the world thinks this is a good deal.
I just saw him.
I don't know where
he changed that. He meant Iranians. 99% of Iranians like this deal.
You joking?
That's the most absurd comment I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know who he's talking to, but, I can't say that I know 100% of the world's population, but I'm pretty sure that's just a little hyperbolic. And for someone who constantly is accused of being hyperbolic, I find that the president has stepped across a line here. Now, look, this is a bad deal for a whole lot of reasons, not the least of which is the Iranians have been able now, with this deal, to free up their energy market. They're now going to have more money to supply terrorists. They weren't doing half bad when we had the sanctions on them. They were still supplying Hamas with enough ammunition to shoot at civilian targets in Israel last year.
Yep.
This is crazy. I don't understand why anybody would embrace this. This country never having kept a deal they've made. We put no preconditions on the negotiations. We should have said, until those 4 Americans in your prisons are on an airplane back to the United States, until you recognize Israel's right to exist, until 3, you quit talking about killing America and destroying it, we're not going to sit at the table with you. That should have been the 3 preconditions, and we didn't even ask for that. Didn't even get it at the end of the deal, much less the beginning.
If you had expressed yourself in that way and not brought up the Holocaust and not brought up ovens, and I said this earlier, and you can respond, Governor, people would have focused on the negatives in the Iran deal. Instead, now they're focusing on you and the language that you choose.
The language.
Even more so
bringing Israelis to the door of the oven.
Because you don't want to apologize. So again, people are focused on that and not what's wrong with the deal.
They need to understand why I use that imagery, because it's the imagery that the Iranians have used. Their official government tweet said, we have developed the missiles that will replace Israel with another Holocaust. Their words. Their president has said that it's great that we have all the Jews assembled in one place because now we don't have to hunt them down. Look, I've been to Auschwitz 3 times. I've stood at the door of that oven. I've been to Israel dozens and dozens of times. My first trip there was 42 years ago, and I was 17 years old. So I'm not speaking out of some abstract thought. I'm speaking here.
But you can understand how it would upset people.
Well, I'm telling
people who lost relatives.
No, you're wrong about that, Dagen, because last night I was at a fundraising event. I was probably one of about 4 Gentiles there. It was a Jewish event. Many of the people there were Holocaust survivors, or the children or grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, and they were hugging me, thanking my email, Facebook page had blown up with Jewish supporters who say thank you for having the guts to tell it like it is and not sugarcoat this. Look, here's the point I keep trying to make to people on this issue and the imagery. For 6,000 years, Jews have been hunted down all over the world to be annihilated. In 1938, we did not take seriously the threats that were being made that we're going to destroy the Jews. Neville Chamberlain makes this ridiculous deal and appeases the Nazis and says we're going to have peace in our lifetime. And it wasn't long after that we saw the beginning of the murder of 11 million people, 6 million of them who are Jews. What I'm trying to remind people is we've seen this movie before. It doesn't end well. Let's not wait until 6 million people are murdered before we wake up and say, by gosh, they really meant it, didn't they?
Can this deal be reversed? The president has been adamant at saying anybody who challenges this or any challenge, I will veto. What are you going to do?
What arrogance. What arrogance when he says there are only two options, war and his deal. There's another option. Explore, expand, and export the energy that the United States has. We have hundreds of years of gas and oil and coal right here. Let us become the energy marketplace to the world. Let us challenge the markets that Russia, the Iranians, and the Saudis currently have. Let us export energy to Europe, Africa, and Asia. Let us become the most important energy center in the entire world that prospers America, puts millions of Americans to work, but it also upsets the balance of world power. We don't have to necessarily bomb the Iranians. We need to bankrupt the Iranians. We need to make their government unprofitable so that they don't have the money to support Hamas and Hezbollah.
Instead, we caved on an embargo, lifting the embargo on arms sales.